Today on Freedom Journal Iraq, Marines direct air traffic and health care benefits for veterans. Welcome to this edition of Freedom Journal Iraq. I'm PFC John Sheldon, and here's a look at events shaping the region. Soldiers from the 172nd Stryker Brigade have discovered a huge weapons cache while supporting Operation Together Forward. Searching over 500 buildings, they found hundreds of rockets and mortar rounds and 39,000 rounds of small arms ammunition. Coalition forces have cleared more than 23,000 buildings in neighborhoods across Baghdad, finding 10 weapons caches and removing 900 tons of trash. More than 1 million pilgrims flooded Baghdad's Kadamiyah neighborhood over the weekend, commemorating the death of the 7th Shiite Imam. Iraqi security forces planned, led, and executed the event's security. They prevented any recurrence of the violence that marred last year's events. No major attacks took place, and the ISF contained the violent elements. At Al-Assad Air Base, Marines on the flight line have a 24-hour-a-day mission to keep jets, helos, and cargo planes flying. But it's the air traffic controllers who are the final say for when those aircraft leave the ground. Airman First Class Richard Gonzalez introduces us to the Marines of Detachment Bravo from San Diego, California, who are the eyes of the sky in western Iraq. Take a look.
More than 250 miles of airspace.
Ivy the same. This will be a precision approach.
Tracking aircraft up to 12,000 feet in the sky.
7 miles from touchdown, approaching glide path from A above glide path.
And a constant flow of aircraft from every direction.
We've got supply aircraft and troop aircraft coming in and out of Al-Assad. We've also got combat missions going on at the same time, so it's a very important responsibility to keep that separation, to keep those aircraft safe, get them on the ground, and get them off.
Approach. Sergeant Ireland's the supervisor for the 5-man shift, not only because of his rank, but the experience he brings to the team.
This is my 4th deployment, yes. It's a very high tempo. A lot of that is due to our manning and being such low-level manning. A lot of times it's a very short push. You do a deployment for 6 to 7 months, go home, you turn right back around 4 to 5 months later and come back. You know, it's something that you expect. I think it causes a lot of stress for guys, younger guys that are just getting in. But when you realize what we're here to do and that this is what you signed up for.
All right, Shooter 2-4, Al-Assad final controller. How do you hear me?
You deal with it. It's just a situation that you just come to accept.
Made the runway 27 left. Some people stressful. It really depends on a lot of factors.
Factors like getting assault helicopters to ground troops in the fight, or an overwhelming number of aircraft in the sky. That's where the team is key.
Well above glide path, holding 1 mile from touchdown, A above glide path.
Breaking down the airspace.
Left course and corrected.
So each controller has their own role.
I have a little amount of airspace that I work with, usually just a final approach course, and just talking pilots through it, where they are exactly in relation to the airfield, just to get them down safely on deck.
But the team of air traffic controllers go beyond the small room of 5. They're the radar section, who has all the fancy equipment.
5-4 Al-Assad Tower, runway 27 left, winds 270 at 4, clear for takeoff.
The tower controllers have a headset and a pair of binoculars.
Tower environment, you have to be more creative. It changes every situation, every day. It's a different, situation you run into. It's just a different environment. You got a lot less airspace to work with, and aircraft coming in for the same runway, same landing spot, and you gotta sequence them and make it work.
For now, they're in an expeditionary position, not because of the war, but because of construction on the permanent tower.
Tower.
So the Marines are here in the small but important place that hovers over the flight line. And even though they have a mobile office, they know their place on Al-Assad.
On a daily basis, we see that, we're needed. We can't just leave here. Things can't function the way they should if we weren't here. So it provides a sense of, okay, I am part of this. I don't need to be right out on the front line with a weapon.
Air 010 gusting up to 18 knots. Hover checks approved before complete.
Al-Assad final controller, how do you hear me? Runway 27 left after landing, contact tower.
In a stressful job where their situation in Iraq doesn't bring any relief, these Marines of Detachment Bravo know their job and their mission. Be the eyes of the sky. Airman First Class Richard Gonzalez, Al-Assad Air Base, Iraq.
5-4 Al-Assad Tower, runway 27.
After the break, soldiers create a new sound. Stay with us.
I believe the children Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride to make it easier. Let the children's laughter.
From family to finance, troops have a lot to sort out after returning home from a deployment. One thing they don't have to worry about is veterans' health care benefits. Army Sergeant Misha King met with members of the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs last week as they visited Baghdad.
Service members and civilians in Baghdad received a special visit from the Secretary of Veterans Affairs and several congressmen. Secretary Jim Nicholson said they came to Iraq to thank commanders and troops for what they're doing for the United States and its freedom. He said the second and equally important reason was to visit the Combat Support Hospital to make sure the medical care process for veterans is on track.
I want to make sure that our hospitals and our staff are ready for them, their unique needs, so that we have a smooth, seamless transition of health care benefits for them from the time they come out of this combat zone through the military hospitals and into our medical care.
The delegation also visited wounded service members. The Secretary said whenever he visits veterans at different hospitals worldwide, he's inspired by their dispositions.
Some of them are very seriously injured, but their spirit is inspiring. And what they most often ask me when I say, "What can I do to help you?" they say, "Sir, can you help me get back to my unit?"
It wasn't all work for Secretary Nicholson and the congressmen. Later that afternoon, they kicked back and chatted with service members and civilians while enjoying good old military dining facility food. A retired Army colonel himself, Secretary Nicholson said he felt at home with the troops and was glad to see their eating and living conditions firsthand.
This is the finest military, I think, that maybe we've ever had in the history of our country, and they're all volunteers.
Army Sergeant Misha King, Baghdad, Iraq.
For more information about veteran benefits and entitlements, log on to va.gov. The Diarra Agricultural Union held the first elections in the history of the program last week. The union will help more than 1,200 farmers buy seeds, tools, and insecticides. When people think of Iraq, vineyards most likely don't come to mind. Army Sergeant John Fries takes us to a vineyard in northern Iraq and talked with farmers trying out a new irrigation system.
Recently, the U.S. Secretary of Agriculture visited Iraq and formed a partnership agreement with the Ministry of Agriculture to work together to bring U.S. farming technology to the Iraqi farmers. These great farmers from the small town of Dahuk in northern Iraq have been selected to be the first farmers to apply a new drip irrigation method and test it against a traditional furrow method.
The drip irrigation system is most economical than the traditional system here, either in the usage of water or the usage of labors.
With lower costs to produce quality crops, the Iraqi farmers hope to increase their yield and their export capabilities while decreasing the need for importing crops that can be grown locally. One concern of the farmers is the need for cold storage facilities. Right now, farmers don't have enough room to preserve their crops for shipping. However, plans are already being made by the Department of Agriculture to fix the problem and help Iraq once again become a major contributor to the world's agricultural industry. Army Sergeant John Fries, Dahuk, Iraq.
It's not easy to get away from the daily grind, but some soldiers found a way: music. Army Sergeant Marvin Cornell visits with some soldiers who let their music take them away.
Many soldiers serving in Iraq often think about what they will do once they redeploy to head back stateside. While most soldiers want to spend time with family and friends, these 5 soldiers of 64th Brigade Support Battalion, 4th Infantry Division, have other things in mind. During downtime, they are a band known as Alternate So. Specialist Benjamin Callis explains their music as alternative beats with so vocals.
It's kind of like an R&B and an alternative mix. The bright green soul to it, the urban soul mixing. We kind of didn't really know what to expect at first, how it would sound, but actually we're really pleased. And I think it has a really unique sound that I don't know none of us have really heard before in other music.
While writing music is difficult, Specialist Daniel Friend says playing music is a way to kick back and relax.
You can pretty much get away from this place, which is cool. It's hard to find that outlet. I mean, it's good. You have a good group of guys. You can. It's just a getaway, and it's something fun. It's something that keeps your mind off everything else, and you can go back and you can tell your friends what you're doing, and something to be proud of. I think it's cool. I like it. It's a crazy sound. It's like kind of like 2 trains colliding and forming one super train. Big trains are cool.
if at the very least, these soldiers have made some lifelong friends and memories and have had fun passing the time. Army Sergeant Marvin Cornell, Bakuba, Iraq.
Thanks for watching the newscast that brings you the stories from the front lines of the War on Terror and Operation Iraqi Freedom. From all of us here at AFN and Freedom Journal Iraq, have a safe day.
My name is Private First Class Christopher James McDonald. I'm with the headquarters company for STB. My job right now, I'm 11 Bravo. Basically what I do, I'm a Bradley gunner, and basically what I do is I pull security, make sure my people get to where they need to go safely, make sure nobody approaches that is full security when I'm on mission site. Sort of like a family tradition. All my family members have been in the military. I've got two older brothers and a dad in the military. Just doing these different missions, getting to know the guys real well. That's probably one of the most important experience I'm going to take away from Iraq. If we don't keep the people away from the convoy, we get hit, which is bad for relations with the people. And that's why I serve.
Welcome to OIF Today, your source for the latest news on Operation Iraqi Freedom.
More than 1 million pilgrims flooded Baghdad's Qadamiyya neighborhood over the weekend, commemorating the death of the 7th Shiite Imam. Iraqi security forces planned, led, and executed the event's security. They prevented any recurrence of the violence that marred last year's event. No major attacks took place, and the ISF contained the violent elements. Soldiers from the 172nd Stryker Brigade have discovered a huge weapons cache while supporting Operation Together Forward. Searching over 500 buildings, they found hundreds of rocket and mortar rounds and 39,000 rounds of small arms ammunition. Coalition forces have cleared more than 3,000 buildings in neighborhoods across Baghdad, finding 10 weapons caches and removing 900 tons of trash. The DR Cultural Union held its first elections in the history of the program last week. The union will help more than 1,200 farmers buy seeds, tools, and insecticides.